welcome once again to Tame Your Talent. Brad J, your host, broadcasting to podcasting, your online announcer training at its finest. How you doing? I hope you're having a great day. Taking a little sip of my tea as we get started here today. Today, what do I want to talk about? Today I want to talk about preparation, okay? Because preparation, when it comes to announcing, is your best friend. I'm telling you this right now. You got to prepare. You got to be ready. And how do you get ready? What do you do? Well, I'll tell you what, if you don't prepare, you know what I call that? It's called not preparing. And you know what that means? Not preparing is preparing to fail. And someone told me that a long time ago. So I learned my lesson on that one. So I prepare, and you need to do the same thing. How do you prepare for an announcing event? Do you go la 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 la? Do you practice your voice? Do you sing like, my dog is red? I mean, what do you do? How do you prepare? Well, first of all, you make sure you have everything in your trusty, sturdy little backpack or your briefcase or your man purse or your satchel or whatever you may call it. You make sure you have all those things. And I want to talk to you about those things. First off, headphones, earbuds, whatever you want to call them. These can be your best friend. Now, IFB, that's an internal deal that you listen to your director on through your ear, okay? So if you're going to an event and they're high tech and they might be using IFBs, communication with your director, that's where you always want to have your own earbuds. Always have your own earbuds in your backpack no matter what you do, because these can be pretty important when it comes down to communication, because sound guys don't want to give you their earbuds and theirs because you get ear sticky grossiness and you don't want that. So always make sure you have your earbuds. Okay, that's one thing I always like to travel with too as well. Well, I'll tell you what, scissors. Scissors, you need scissors because you want to cut things. You want to cut paper. Maybe you want to cut highlighted material out, and that's what you want to put in there, and that's part of your preparation is cutting things out with your scissors. So you always bring your scissors. Okay, scissors, we've talked about that. Now tape, let's talk about tape. Why tape, Brad J? Why do you need tape? Well, tape is important for a few different reasons. So many events I do, I'm outside, okay? The weather, you got wind, the papers are blowing around, your clipboard, your paper's flipping up on your clipboard like this and going, so you tape it down. Or you also tape your notes down to your table. You can do this, tape it down. That way when the wind's coming in and it's blowing around, you can still read your notes. That's why you always have tape. Now, highlighters. I'm a huge fan of a highlighter. And you know what? More colors, more better. I'll tell you what, love highlighters because highlighters are what it's all about. What I do, let's say if I'm doing an athlete introduction and I'm going to tell you a little bit about the athlete. So I'll put his name. I will highlight his name and then I'll put bullet points underneath. There it is. Bullet points again. Brad's always talking about bullet points. Well, that's how I do it, okay? Highlight the name, bullet points about the athlete or the person that you're talking about. There it is. Boom, you see his name. That's why you do with the highlighter. Now, cue cards. How about cue cards, right? You want to have the old cue cards. Cue cards, I always found really worked well for me when I worked in the NBA for the Los Angeles Clippers. I would always keep a cue card for the event I was doing in my back pocket. So briefly, if I needed to throw the sponsor love out there or whatever, and I have the mic going on, I could pull the cue card out, quickly look down at it, boom, say it, put it back, and it's not cumbersome like having a clipboard in there. So cue cards, very, very important. Sharpie, oh my goodness. Love Sharpies. They are my favorite in all the world. Sharpies are great. You can write down someone's name, then you can highlight that person's name. Sharpies are great. Pens, you always need to have pens. Pens are very important too, okay? Because you have to write stuff down. You have to take notes. You might have to change the start list. Your director might give you some information and you're like trying to borrow a pen. Are you really an announcer and you're trying to borrow a pen? Get a pen. You've been to school. How many years have you gone to school? Have a pen with you. All right, winter time. When it's cold, you need something, right? How do you write in the cold? Sometimes pens don't work, right? I've done snowboarding events where the pens don't work. This brand new invention called the pencil takes care of that one right there. Pencil, sure. So that's all you got to do. Use a pencil, okay? It works great. I learned this after announcing probably 3 or 4 different winter events, and I saw someone else having a pencil, and I realized, why do the judges have pencils? They have pencils because it's cold and pens don't work. So you do that. Now, backup snacky. Always got to have a snack. I prefer 2 bars, okay? 2, count them 2, because if you have 2 bars, then you're twice as likely not to be hungry, I think is what I'm looking for on that one. All right, well, just having some food, and also having food, have some agua, also known as water. Very refreshing. It always helps kind of lubricate the tonsils when you're announcing. You definitely want your water. Now me, I always like to have an extra lid. I always like to have an extra hat. All right, maybe it's a sponsor hat. In this case, these people give me hats, so this is the hat I would choose to take. Now, I take pictures wearing various hats at various events, and they send those to the people that I'm working for, so they see that too as well. But always have an extra hat, sun, whatever, in your face. Full charge battery on your phone. Bam, you got to do that. Notice I have the big one. Eyes aren't as good as maybe yours, but here's the deal. I go with the big phone. The notes pop right up there. I can search anything. Full battery on your phone always, and always keep your phone warm. If you're in the winter and you're doing a winter event, you lose your battery quicker if it's out in the cold in your backpack. So keep it on you for sure on the phone. iPad, always another one of my favorites. iPad, this one comes with a crack at the bottom. My wife stepped on it, but no problem there. It still works just fine. iPad is something that I love to have with me as well because that's super important. Okay, so now I've covered tools of the trade. All right, I've covered tools of the trade. But you're talking about the sunglasses, right? You want to see the sunglasses? You want to see that? You want to see that? Here's the deal with the sunglasses. Have sunglasses, sunny events. How about when you forget them and you're fighting and you're squinting and you can't see? You always want to have an extra pair of sunglasses with you. And I like to travel with 2 pairs. So if one pair gets broken, I have a backup pair. All right? So I usually have 2 pairs of sunglasses in my backpack. Those are the tools of the trade. Now let's talk about show prep. Show prep is so darn important. How much prep did you do before the event? How much prep on the athletes? In fact, I always try to do is get a start list of the people that are going to be competing in the competition. I try to get that the night before. So then what I do is I'll take that list and then I'll do all my work off that list. I'll Google people, I'll Wikipedia, I'll do whatever it takes to find out information about these people, all right? Any other of stuff that you can get from your director or your producer ahead of time, that's key too. Because if you get this stuff from them, you can now hand choose what's important. You can even with your highlighter, highlight the most important things, or you can what I like to call is a one sheet. I'll take 20 important things, I'll put them down onto one sheet of paper, and I'll call that my one sheet. And that's how I do that. So show prep the night before. Do not show up not prepared. Do you feel like you're an expert and you don't need to? I'll tell you what, you may think that doesn't happen, but it does happen. I've worked with so many different people regarding this, and they're professional announcers, and the sport that we're talking about is a sport that they probably competed at one time. So they feel that what they can do is just kind of do their own thing because they're a pro at the sport. But you know what? I don't care how much of a sport that you know. If you don't do the work on the people that are in it and know everything about it or have it written down, you can't resource it fast enough when you're doing the show. So you're not, whether you're an expert or not, do the homework, get it done. All right, now, story time. I love to tell stories. One of my favorite stories happened to me, I think it was just last year. I was in New Zealand doing a major mountain biking competition, and part of a sport that I'm not too familiar with. And I was in there doing the sport. Okay, I did all my prep the night before. I had probably done 6 hours of show prep. I have notes after note after note. I had all this stuff laid out for me in New Zealand, ready to announce. We're gonna go live on the World Wide Web in just a short amount of time. My director chimes in on my ear through my earbuds that I have. He chimes in and says, hey Brad, let's move your location from your desk to a space that has a beautiful backdrop of New Zealand countryside. So they wanted that look, that special look. Well, I'd already taped down my notes. I'd had everything over at the desk. They separated me from the desk. I start announcing and I can't get to any of the information I've done the work on. So all of a sudden, 3 or 4 minutes into it, I couldn't remember all the work I'd done. And I could have stopped that whole thing if I would explain to my director at that point that if you move me over to that zone, I will not have all the information regarding what I need to talk about. And that was the problem I had in New Zealand. And I kind of looked like an idiot on the webcast. Probably not the first time, probably definitely not the last, but that was one of those things that I learned from. I use those as teachable moments. When I have a situation like that, I learn like, wow, that is not the way to do it. That's a teachable moment to me, and that taught me a lesson. Be prepared and communicate with your director at all cost, every single time. That is all about preparation. So make sure you have all the tools of the trade, and that's what I call them right here. That's your earbuds. You make sure you have those. You make sure you have your scissors. Watch out, that could poke somebody. You put your tape in there too as well. You get your highlighters in. You grab all your pens and your pencils and your highlighters. Put all those in there as well. You get your cue cards right here. Here's your cue cards. Get those on side there. A couple of yummy yummies right there in case you're hungry. That's good for the tummy. Didn't mean to rhyme that, but I did. And also your water. Put your water in there too as well. Get your sunglasses in there. Careful not to scratch them. Drop your phone in there. Hey, how about an extra hat? Let's drop that in there. You know what? I'm going to need my clipboard on this one. Let me put this in there too as well. And finally, let's go ahead and take the iPad and put that in there as well. So that is my completed backpack, ready to go do battle at the next event that I'm going to do. That is preparation. Tools of the trade, you got to have them. Did you prepare? And even if you're expert, you always want to stay busy and do your work and make sure you get it done the proper way. Preparation, that's what it's all about. Tame your talent. Broadcasting to podcasting, I'm Brad J.